Right, thank you very much indeed, and thank you to this session on CAP reform. I don't know how many of you in the audience were present when we had the last session looking at how we meet the challenge. A number of the scientists were reflecting on how we're going to have to sustainably intensify agricultural production, the big global challenge of feeding in excess of 9 billion. And I think it was Tim Benton who made the remark that when we had too much food, we had policies that told us to produce more food. And then when we now have some real tensions in the food market, we're telling us to extensify. Of course, the next turn on CAP reform is obviously right in the forefront of our minds and thinking at this moment in time. It was a big session, a big topic of discussion with the Secretary of State yesterday, and of course also Commissioner Chalosh as well. We've got a lineup of really eminent speakers for this session this morning. We've got Paolo Di Castro, Chairman of the Committee of Agriculture and Rural Development of the European Parliament. We've got Martin Nesbitt from DEFRA, Director of EU and International Evidence Base, and our very own Gail Souter, Senior CAP International Advisor of the NFU, to make sure you don't have to listen to me too much and get things wrong. So if we could start with the opening presentation from Paolo Di Castro. Paolo.
So thanks, Peter. Thanks all of you for listening. I will enjoy very much to follow the previous speaker, in particular the Tim Benton approach, so I really go into the political aspect with the same kind of thinking. We are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Common Agricultural Policy, a policy that has been one of the key factors in the process of European unification, and that is still the main economic and land management policy at European Union level. We are on the eve of the new fundamental appointment in the 20 years process of CAP reform. Started in 1992 with the McSherry reform, and continued through Agenda 2000, the Franz-Fischler reform, and the health check. In making this new reform, we are assuming a greater range of responsibility than in the past. Previous reforms had been made in a scenario in which the market were stable, and Europe, as all developed countries, seems to have permanently eliminated the spectre of food scarcity. The current situation is different, and the future is marked by an epochal transformations. Just to mention the most visible phenomena, we have begun to experience the effect of market volatility, and it is destined to become a systematic factor. We have entered a new era of supplying of food and agricultural commodity. The issue of food security, one of the drivers to the creation of CAP in 1957, returns to be topical. The reason for this phenomenon are many. First of all, the increasing food demand in emerging countries. The consequent market instability is translated into pressure on our agricultural system, our farmers, and the entire food system. We have already experimented with the milk crisis and the prolonged suffering of other agricultural sectors. We cannot ignore these changes. Otherwise, we would be blind to the evidence. The risk is to lose a large portion of agricultural land, a risk that has potentially strong impact, not only from the point of view of food security, but also under the perspective of the fundamental contribution that agriculture gives to our society to meet the other great challenges of our time: environmental protection, fight against climate change, water conservation, territorial cohesion. The future of key environmental and social value, what we call public goods, walk hand in hand with the future of European agriculture. The Fischler reform, the Franz-Fischler reform, has more than others contributed to a construction of a structure of support aimed to promote agriculture as a sector providing public goods to the whole European society. These are the same values that nowadays are fundamental to address the 2020 strategy purposes. This value can be strengthened only through a viable and widespread agricultural sector, able to deliver both food security and environmental security to the European citizen. If we agree that the challenges we have to face in the near future are strictly linked to farming, one of the basic tasks of our work as a policy makers should be promoting the defense of farm production potential, Therefore, we need a strong policy and adequate resources for the CAP post-2013. The Common Agricultural Policy should remain primarily an economic policy in support of a strategic sector. We cannot design the future of Common Agricultural Policy just as an environmental policy for two major and simple reasons. Firstly, food security is becoming a more and more urgent and strategic issue. It is not a forecasting future. It is happening now. Europe is the world leader in food production and the most important player in the global food trade. Consequently, it has a great economic and social interest at stake, as well as a great responsibility on the global level. Secondly, if we want the agricultural system keeps delivering a range of environmentally essential services, we have to consider the several constraints and threats to which the system is exposed. If we wish to enhance the contribution of agriculture to create public goods, we must ensure its presence on economic vitality. In one word, doesn't exist environmental sustainability without economic sustainability. This is a necessary condition, and it is easy to understand why. It should lead us to translate such aspiration and constraint into a CAP more modern and closer to the need of the citizen, but also into a CAP able to ensure a viable future to our farmers, first of all paying a great attention to the question of economic viability of European farming system. In the present scenario, all this means especially thinking of how to manage future market risk. I don't want to go too much into the detail of the Commission proposal, but I just want to point out that the European Parliament has chosen a clear direction, widely shared in Agricultural Committee and approved by a very large majority in the plenary session. In our vision, the combination of competitiveness and sustainability is the only possible way. This means to engage, to design a policy to cover farmers from increasing exposure to market risk. But this means also that the new CAP should be able to ensure enough flexibility to farmers and member states consistently with the evolution of this scenario and the need of adaptation to it. Of course, this means also to set up a measure able to boost a satisfactory level of public goods delivery. We have confirmed this conviction in two reports, the George Lyon, which is here, and thanks to listening, and Albert Dess report, voted both with a very large majority in Agricultural Committee and in the plenary. So we will keep on working in this direction, detailing our proposal in the next months through the work of our rapporteurs. Let me to be clear, there is a lot of work to do. I do not go too far in my consideration, but I can say the several change or the several improvement, if you want to use the word of Dacian Cholos yesterday here, in the text of the Commissioner proposal are needed. Several improvements. Some issues that had great emphasis in the speech of the Commissioner, as well as in the Commission communication in November 2010, unfortunately, don't find any viable development in the proposal, in the legislative proposal. I'm referring to food security, management of market crisis, flexibility for member states to manage the transition to a new support system. More specifically, I also refer to the idea of a mandatory set-aside of 7%, including the so-called greening component on direct payment system. How we can reconcile proposals like this one, with the goal of having a more competitive agriculture and increased production? Too strict requirements make difficult joining the greening for European Union farmers, and the risk is that a relevant amount of resources can be moved away from agriculture if not all farmers can apply the greening. The main goal should be to produce more and to pollute less, not to produce less, increase the economic risk of our farmers. These greenings seem lead to restriction on production, a reduction in market orientation, and additional bureaucracy. In the European Union, 14 million farmers manage more than close to 50% of overall land area, employing about 30 million people and supply a range of essential services to European Union society. We now need to reflect on how to ensure the continuity of such service, including food security. And we have to guarantee the future crisis will not translate into squeezing of economic margins of our farmers, jeopardize the continuity of their business. Therefore, I also believe that the proposal is insufficient in terms of crisis management tools. We are in the era of volatility of agricultural price, and the proposal does not contain particularly news to address this phenomenon destined to be a systematic phenomenon. This lack reflects another limit. The proposal seems to focus only on direct payment system, but many proposals of the Commission are valuable, and the idea of a better target support is welcome, of course. But this goal must be pursued without jeopardizing the economic viability of the European Union farmers and ensuring an adequate degree of flexibility to Member States in applying the new system of direct payment. Further, we should pay more attention to the idea that direct payment can play a counter-cyclical role in order to mitigate the effect of market volatility. Nevertheless, proposed measures to address market crises are almost still the same of the past. Yet, in the recent year, we have experienced that these are not sufficient in case of deep and prolonged crisis. On this basis, we will discuss the reform with the Commission, and of course we will discuss with the Council, and we try to make an agreement with the Council if the Commission will help us. But the Lisbon Treaty strengthened the role of the European Parliament, and we want to use our new power to play a decisive role on this reform. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Peter, to invite me.
Thank you very much, Paolo. It's obviously we're in a new place with the Parliament being so involved in CAP reform and the co-decision now. So having your strong views and able to have that debate with us when we have questions in a few moments will be really valuable.